We're very thrilled to have one of the co-founders of Blackstar Amplification here at Yupanco Gear Talks. Joining us today is Paul Hayhoe, who will be sharing with us his insights about Blackstar and its mission to help you achieve that sound in your head. Well, can you share some insights on some of the latest product developments at Blackstar, such as the St. James series, or are there any advancements in digital technology?
So, like I said, innovation's a key thing for us. So we're always looking at new ideas and new ways of doing things. So St. James is a really interesting example. Everybody loves a tube amp.
Yes.
Nobody likes how heavy they are.
Yes.
That's not true. Some metal players like the fact they're really heavy, but generally people don't like the weight. So we were looking at different ways that we could get the weight out. And one of the biggest things is the mains transformer.
Okay.
So, which is basically, mains transformers, the big metal transformers
Yes.
are really inefficient. So they have to be really
Quite
big.
heavy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we looked at was a switch mode power supply, which is
Okay.
really efficient. So it's much smaller and lighter. Now that doesn't affect the tone, that's purely the mains input. So the output transformer, which does affect the sound,
Yes.
is still a traditional ferrite core transformer.
Okay.
So you see this in, I think it's Manley who do the Valve Studio effects. They do a similar thing by using a switch mode power supply.
Okay.
So that takes out a big chunk of weight.
All right.
We use a wood called candle nut, which is it's still a plywood,
Yes.
but it's a lightweight wood.
Okay.
So that took some more weight out. Then the speaker, we worked with Celestion on a new design of speaker.
Okay.
So, you know, you can get neodymium speakers, but not everybody likes the sound of them.
Okay.
Some people feel they're a bit harsh. So what we wanted was a traditional speaker, but was lighter weight.
Okay.
So the speaker we worked with on Celestion, all the soft parts, so the cardboard parts, the dust cap, are the
Yes.
same as on a vintage 30, so
Okay.
traditional parts. But every other element, all the metal bits, we kind of nibbled away as much metal as we could.
Oh, okay.
So the magnet on a speaker is about this big,
Yes.
mainly because they've always been about this
Yeah.
big
And they're
So-
a little thick as well.
and thick.
Yeah.
So we worked with Celestion's engineers to look at the parts of the magnet that actually affect the performance of the speaker, and any of the excess metal that doesn't affect it,
Should go.
took away.
Oh.
The basket, you know, the metal framework,
Yes.
again, took lots of it's like a race car, you know, where they
Yes,
take
true,
all
true. I
these
was
little
about
bits
to
out.
mention that.
So there's
Yeah.
the big wins, like the switch mode power supply, but then there's all these other little incremental
That's
things.
great. That's great. Basically, after the pandemic, it was difficult to tour. Like prices of petrol was quite expensive.
Sure.
And a lot of people have switched to like preamps and ampless setups. But I have noticed that even the debut, even the entry level 50 watt
Yeah.
is great on boards.
Yeah.
Great on pedal boards. So
Yeah.
that's a very welcome product.
Yeah. Do you know, it's worked against us almost though, because St. James is so light. There's a lot of people online going, oh, well, it can't really be a valve amp. But it really, really is.
So you really had to change a lot of minds, huh?
So we have to keep telling people, no, really, it's a real valve amp. And we're even looking at making the valves more visible so people can
With so many amp brands available today, what do you believe sets Blackstar apart from the competition? And why should clients choose us?
Well, the number one thing is sound. It's always about sound. So we talk a lot about innovation, and there's kind of two levels to that. There's the kind of the poster boy innovations, like the patented features, like
Yes.
ISF, DPR, things like that.
DVP.
But there's lots of incremental, invisible innovations. So you remember I was saying about in the shed when we looked at every
Yes,
element
component,
of
yeah.
amp design. There's lots of little innovations and changes that we've made in those circuits that mean you get a much better sound from a Blackstar. So we often say nothing else sounds like a Blackstar because nothing else is designed like a Blackstar.
Oh.
You look at our circuits,
Yes.
they're not like other people's. And that's because we're not afraid to do things different. And not everyone likes that. You know, some people are traditional and they like things the way they've always been done, and that's fine. But for us, if we make a change to make it sound better,
Yeah.
we'll do it. Even if people go, oh, you shouldn't do that. But for us, as long as it sounds good,
Yes.
it's really important.
Yeah.
So a good example of that was when we were designing Series 1, which is the high gain valve amps. Up until that point, and other brands still do it, if you try recording a really high gain amp, then there's quite often this detached kind of
Yes.
horrible sound that you have to kind of EQ and
True.
change mic position to try and get rid
Gate,
of.
yeah.
There's one really, I probably shouldn't say this, one really simple component change that we've done in the output stage that gets rid of that. So even with the super high gain amp, it's a sound engineer's dream, because it's really easy to mic up and record and get a great sound.
That's very good to know.
Even with all that gain. So do you know the musician Bob Mould?
I think I've heard of him.
So he was a big influence on the Foo Fighters, for instance. He does a lot of open chords, ringing notes, but with a load of gain. So even with the gain maxed out, so tons and tons of gain, you play like an open chord, you hear every single note still coming through.
That's
it
great.
never turns to mush. And again, it's all to do with the design.
That's good. I've always wanted the blend knob on my pedals, because when you saturate, your pedal, it just kind of like fizzy. So I normally do put gates in them, and or turn the gain a little bit lower and just put another overdrive pedal before it. But that's good to know. You brought it inside the amp.
Yeah.
We don't have to think about it.
Yeah, and it's the same, like I said earlier, it's the same whether you're buying a $60 amp or a $1,000 amp. It's the same people, the same approach, same philosophy on all of those products.
True. I have one of your amps, actually. I bought one of the first versions of the ID Core Beam for my daughter. I was teaching her how to play bass. So I took it back because I use it at home, and I gave her my large amp. And when I'm doing work at home in my home office, I put it on top of my shelf, and I could feel the stereo in it.
Yeah,
And I could use it for my bass, for electric, acoustic, or music. Even stream movies in it.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that amp. I love that amp. It's great to have.
It's one of our customers once said to me, he said, it's the amp you can use every day.
Yes.
Because if you're not playing, you can still stream your music through it.
Music or movies.
Yeah.
That's true. And it sounds like powerful. I could feel the bass.
Yeah.
Even if it was such a little just bigger than this one.
Yeah.
That's good job on that.
Well, again, there's some clever stuff in the DSP that we do, is that when the volume is lower, the bass is accentuated. So even at low volumes, you get the feel of a big sound. And then as you turn the volume up, the bass is reduced slightly, so it doesn't become too boomy and too muddy.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so
I didn't know
again,
that.
It's all clever stuff.
I didn't know
But
that.
our challenge, right, is we do all this really, really clever stuff, but you have to make it simple for people to use. But then people don't realize how clever it is.
That's how to make it work.
Exactly.
That's how companies should do products. Hello. We're looking at you. Just like what I said, it's easy to use. It's user-friendly. It has huge headroom. And you can use it at home because it has dynamic power reduction. Or play it at gigs.
Yeah.
Good. That's good.
However you want to play.
How has your approach to research and development evolved since the company's inception? And what role does musician feedback play in the process?
It's really important to us to listen to musicians and customers, because ultimately what we're trying to do is create tools for musicians.
Yes.
So for us, it's always been about innovation and trying to give people new opportunities, new ways to create sounds. I often refer back to that Hendrix, some of the amazing sounds he was creating was by abusing equipment, using it in unusual ways, and being a monster player, obviously.
Of course.
And I like to think, if he was alive today, what would he be using? Would he still be using the old gear, or would he be trying all kinds of new things, doing things we would never think of? So asking musicians that are out there creating new sounds, writing songs, seeing how they use the gear and how they want to use it.
Yeah.
That's part of the innovation that we want to do. It's like, how do we create those tools for them?
I think he would be experimenting on your amp.
Yeah, I really hope so. And I really hope it's been cool to meet some really great musicians while I've been here. And hearing them talk about how they use the amps and exploring it is a really cool thing.
What do you envision as the future direction of Blackstar Amplification in terms of product innovation and market trends?
Always looking for new ways to facilitate music. That's ultimately, it's creating tools for self-expression is what we're kind of about.
Yeah.
So we're always looking at new areas. So recently we moved into interfaces. So we did a lot of research and found that 80% of people who use an interface for recording at some point use a guitar.
Yes.
And recording guitar with interfaces can be really tricky.
Yes.
So what we found was there were three kind of key pain points for people. One is they're not very easy to use quite often,
Yes.
if you're not into that world.
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to set the levels because digital clipping is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep turning the levels down, which makes your system noisy.
True.
And then you normally have to use some other bit of hardware, like a DI box or a preamp or something
Yes.
to go in the front. So with Polar 2 and 4, we've overcome all of those things. Okay, so they're very simple to use.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to handbook, you can just plug it in and go.
That's nice.
The FET input stage, it's impossible to clip it digitally. So when you push it, it's like the front of a guitar amp or a vintage desk. So when it breaks up and clips, it's in an analog way. So you can really push the front end without any worry about horrible digital clipping.
True.
And you don't need any outboard gear. So our input stage responds and feels just like a guitar amp.
That's
So
great.
even if you don't use our plugins, and you should obviously, but if you're using someone else's plugins,
Yes.
your experience of playing those will be better and more authentic using the Polar interface because it replicates the feel and response that you get when you're playing.
Yeah. If you dig in,
Yeah.
it won't just necessarily affect like hissing noises and stuff.
Not at all.
But yeah.
Not at all. And a really cool thing as well, we're bundling it with a copy of our St. James plugin. So it's a really great price point, but also you get a $100 plugin for free.
Oh,
Which is
that's
pretty
good.
nice. It's pretty nice. I know, we're nice guys.
Advice would you give aspiring players looking to find their unique sound and express their creativity through music?
Don't be afraid to try new things. I think that's the thing. We always say, use these, not
Yes.
these.
Yes.
So try using all different kinds of equipment. Try using it in ways that are unexpected.
True.
Listen to all kinds of different music and just be yourself,
That's
I think the
great.
really great thing at Blackstar, there's so many musicians working for us now, and all different musical genres. So we've got metal guys,
Yeah.
old punk rockers like myself, blues guys,
Blues.
country guys, all sorts. And they all find something within Blackstar, and they all go, "Oh, I really like this," and someone else goes, "Oh, no, I really like this feature." So it's not for us to tell you what your sound is, it's to give you a tool to find your sound, the sound in your head.
Oh, that's great. That's just great. As you can see, we have a lot of Blackstar amps here in the main office showroom, as well as all our locations nationwide. Feel free to visit them later. Let's finish this thing first.
I won't always be there though.
How does Blackstar engage with its community of musicians and artists to foster collaboration and innovation?
Yeah.
Do you gather once a week or once a month?
Well, we go to a lot of gigs. We
Oh,
tour
that's
it.
true. That's true.
And we know lots of people. So we all know lots of musicians and influencers and people. So we speak to them all the time. Most of our people are musicians themselves,
Yes.
so they bring lots of ideas as well. And just actively supporting events. So we often support local festivals and schools,
good.
as well as bigger festivals and
Grassroots.
stuff.
Yeah, they matter.
They totally do.
advantage.
The next generation of musicians is what it's all about.
Yes. And that kid, Isaac, is
Yeah.
pretty young.
Yeah, I know.
He's
Way too
very-
young.
It's very good. Very good as well. As a co-founder and brand director of Blackstar, what personal experiences or philosophies drive your passion for music and amplifier design?
Oh, goodness. I've always been into music since I was really young. So listening to music and then getting a guitar and songwriting has always been a really exciting part of my
nice.
life, basically. And then meeting like-minded people that shared that passion that's at the core of our philosophy. And just getting to meet people like Isaac and other influencers and artists, and hear their stories and their experiences about how it's facilitated their creativity or, I plugged in and I created this riff by listening to this sound. That's what really drives us.